Welcome to the Recaps channel. In today's video, we'll recap Bird Box. Let's get started. In a post-apocalyptic world, Malorie Hayes informs two young children that they will embark on a treacherous journey down a river in a rowboat. She sternly instructs them to never remove their blindfolds, emphasizing that it is a matter of life and death. Malorie leads them outside until they reach the riverbank where a boat is waiting. They then get into the boat and begin their journey. The movie then jumps back 5 years earlier. Malorie, an aspiring artist who is 8 months pregnant and dealing with the aftermath of a divorce, is visited by her sister Jessica. News reports reveal mysterious mass suicides occurring in Europe and Asia. Later, Jessica takes Malorie to the doctor. After a routine prenatal checkup, chaos ensues as people start acting suicidal. Witnessing the horrifying scene, Malorie and Jessica attempt to flee but encounter an inexplicable sight that drives Jessica insane. She intentionally crashes the car and meets her tragic end by walking in front of a speeding truck. As Malorie escapes on foot, she encounters a woman who invites her into a house for safety. However, the woman glimpses the entity, falls into a trance, and sets herself on fire inside a car. Tom, a passerby, rescues Malorie and takes her to the house where 6 other survivors, including Douglas, Greg, Cheryl, Felix, Charlie, and Lucy, have taken refuge. Charlie explains that these demonic entities are a sign of the end times and have been referred to by different names in various cultures. To protect themselves, the group covers all the windows and blindfolds themselves when venturing outside. In the present, Malorie and her kids have been on the boat for 6 hours. They sometimes cover themselves with a blanket to temporarily remove their blindfolds. Malorie tries to use a walkie-talkie to check for nearby people but only hears the entity whispering her name. Returning to the past, Malorie and the survivors coexist in the house. One day, a pregnant survivor named Olympia begs to be let in, despite Douglas's refusal. Later, Greg suggests inspecting the CCTV cameras to see what's happening outside. The others are skeptical but don't object. Greg watches the footage and suddenly freezes. The others hear a loud bang from Greg's room and rush to find him lying in a pool of blood. This makes them realize that the entity can possess people through the computer, so they destroy it. After 14 hours of rowing, Malorie hears a man's voice suggesting they take off their blindfolds. Suspecting that he may be infected, she orders her children to stay low and keep their blindfolds on. He lunges at the boat, but Malorie strikes him with a machete and kills him. In the past, the group runs out of food, and half of the group goes to the grocery store where Charlie used to work to gather supplies. During the journey, the GPS indicates the presence of the entity, but Tom manages to avoid it. They gather supplies, and Malorie acquires 3 pet birds, which seem to sense the presence of the entities. During their expedition, they encounter a deranged co-worker of Charlie who attempts to force them to look at the creatures. Charlie sacrifices himself to save the others, and they manage to return to the house. However, Felix and Lucy betray the group, stealing the car and driving away. After 24 hours on the river, Malorie accidentally collides the boat with a truck, causing the boy and their supplies to fall into the river. Malorie rescues the boy and docks the boat near a shore. She warns the children to stay put and goes into the woods to search for supplies. However, the little girl disobeys and encounters the entity's voice, but Malorie arrives in time to prevent her from removing her blindfold. 5 years earlier, Olympia lets a suspicious man named Gary into the house against Douglas's objections. Gary claims that he escaped from a group of unblindfolded survivors who have gone insane and try to force others to see the entities. Douglas distrusts him and confronts him with a gun, but is knocked out by Cheryl. The group locks Douglas in the garage. Olympia apologizes, but Malorie reassures her. The 2 pregnant women bond and promise to look after each other's children. Malorie gives Olympia a Hello Kitty toy as a baby shower gift. In the present, the little girl, Olympia's daughter, holds the same toy. Malorie wraps them in a blanket as they approach dangerous rapids. As Olympia and Malorie go into labor simultaneously, Gary reveals his insanity by creating drawings of the entities. He incapacitates Tom and opens the garage door, exposing Douglas to the creatures. Gary then proceeds to rip off the blinds from the windows, leading Olympia to witness the entity and tragically jump out of the window, taking her own life. Malorie hides with both newborn babies while Gary forces Cheryl to face the entities, resulting in her own gruesome death. Douglas manages to escape the garage and tries to kill Gary but ends up being killed himself. Tom regains consciousness and confronts Gary, resulting in a struggle over the gun. Malorie hears gunshots and Tom reassures her that everything is fine. Now, only Tom, Malorie, and the children are left. 5 years pass, and Malorie and Tom now live together with their children, referred to as boy and girl. One day, they hear noise outside and discover a group of infected people, indicating that their house is no longer safe. That night, Malorie receives radio transmissions from a man named Rick who informs them about a safe community hidden in the forest, accessible only by boat along the river. The next morning, Tom and Malorie discuss the situation. Tom wants to go to the compound, but Malorie is skeptical due to their previous encounter with Gary. As they leave their house, they encounter a group of unblindfolded survivors who attack them. Tom sacrifices himself to allow Malorie and the children to escape. He confronts the entities with his eyes uncovered, successfully eliminating the attackers before taking his own life. Meanwhile, Malorie and the children arrive home, and she starts briefing them about their journey. 42 hours have passed, and they finally reach the deadly rapids. Malorie does her best to navigate the waves, but the boat capsizes, and they all tumble out. Fortunately, she is able to grab her children and reach the shore unharmed. They start walking through the woods, ignoring the entity's attempts to manipulate them into removing their blindfolds. Instead, they follow the sound of the birds and eventually reach a large compound. Malorie desperately bangs on the door, and someone opens it after confirming that they are not infected. Inside the compound, they meet Rick, who explains that it used to be a school for the blind, which protected the people there from infection. Dr. Lapham, Malorie's obstetrician, is also present and congratulates Malorie on her children. She asks for their names, and after some thought, Malorie names them Olympia and Tom. Finally, Malorie opens her bird box and releases the birds. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share if you enjoyed the video. See you again here on the Recaps channel.